Yeah, hi everyone. Very good morning. Last class we have discussed about the table space related stuff, how to create the table space, and if at all we require to relocate a data file, or if at all we need to increase the size of the table space. So, what are all the things we need to take care? We have seen that thing along with the big file table space. So today, first we are going to see about capacity planning. So basically, capacity planning is not related to Oracle topic, but which is applicable in real time to any of the levels, like network level or storage level or at operating system level, whatever it is. So what is basically a capacity planning is you are going to estimate how much will be the requirement of a particular resource for the future. So for example, let's say, so we have a network router. Generally network router will be having the switch, the different port slots will be there. So let's say every month you are utilizing on an average of two ports connecting your a company's network to various locations or whatever it is. So on an average, if you take per month, if you are increasing your network ports by two, so per year you would be requiring a total of 24 ports. So let's say your current network router or network switch doesn't support the 24 port slots, then you would be requiring to get a new network switch, and you need to replace the things. So that is the capacity planning that you are doing for network layer. Similarly, if you take the storage layer, so if you find that every month your hard disk size is reducing by, let's say, 50 GB. So let's say this month the total free space is 350 GB. Next month it is coming down to 300 GB, and further month it is coming down to 250 GB. So we can say on an average every month you are consuming 50 GB from your hard disk. So now you need to do a capacity planning. You need to do an estimation. Okay, for the next 1 year, how much storage I would be requiring. So as we take the average of 50 GB per month, so 12 months into 50 GB, so you'd be requiring 600 GB of storage for the next 1 year. So this is a kind of capacity planning that we are going to do. So same we are going to do at the database level. So at the database level, we are going to see basically how much each table space is consuming, and how the free space is coming down, like gradually how the free space is coming down, and based on that we are going to estimate the capacity for the next 1 year. So if we want to know the free space inside a table space, we have a query like this. So here you can see for each and every table space it is going to give you the size, like how much free space is there. So of course this is in MBs, where in real time you might see in GBs. So suppose for example I have one table space which is right now having 198 MB. So let's say in 1 week this 198 MB became 158 MB. Then I can say per week on an average 40 MB is being consumed. So if this is the case, for 1 week if it is 40 MB, per month it will be like 4 into 4 weeks, so it will be 160 MB. So for the next 1 year it will be like 160 MB into 12 months. So that much storage whether I have in my hard disk or not, first we need to check on that. If we have that space in the hard disk, well and fine. But if we don't have that in our hard disk, then immediately we need to order a new hard disk, from our side. Because when you order a new hard disk, it will take some process. So it's not just easy that we can get it from a shop. So we need to place an order with the vendor, like whoever is supporting your server, like IBM, HP, and all. So then financial team need to release the money. So that money should be paid to that particular company. Then company need to ship that hard disk. So all this process is involved, which might take 20 to 30 days of time. So that's the reason, well in advance, we are going to perform this activity of capacity planning. So that is about it.
So Pawan, question to you is like, as you said, right, the growth. So to capture the growth, correct? I need to put that data somewhere, right? How will I come to know what was the table space occupied last week?
Exactly. So we will be putting down this in an Excel sheet or something.
Okay.
So we will be tracking there.
Okay.
Also,
So
we
there is
have some,
no. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, so we have some query which will give you the growth, but not at table space level, but at database level.
Okay.
But
But there is nothing called historical table, right, for this table space where we can go and check. Uh,
yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Not for table space, but for database, we can go,
okay.
and that too for, yearly growth. We cannot get monthly growth. So year growth is a difficult one to predict. So because one year, if the business is good, then the growth will be good. Or if one year the business is not good, then the growth will not be there. So many things will be there. So that's the reason what generally we do is we will capture the information, whatever I have shown here in the putty session. So we'll be capturing that in a Excel sheet, maybe on a daily basis or weekly basis or whatever. Then we'll be accordingly taking the call.
Okay.
So anyone having any other questions? So, what exactly, I mean, how exactly we can do more things about capacity planning? So, there is a wonderful article from Oracle Corporation itself. So, I have just kept it in my blog at this URL. So, you can go through that one. So, now comes to undo management. So, undo management is one of the, I can say, important as well as a little bit confusing topic for so many people, but no, like not for us. So to start off with, so uh, we know the purpose of undo table space. So whenever you are performing any DML transaction, whatever the old values are there with respect to that particular column value, so those values will be stored in the undo table space in case if user asks for a rollback. So that is the main purpose of having an undo table space. So we have three parameters in our SP file and P file with respect to undo table space. So the first parameter is undo management. So how the data inside the undo will be managed? Like what exactly mean by undo management? Let me take a picture here. So assume this is my undo table space, and I have a particular user A which has performed some DML transaction. So obviously this A user will be using the undo table space. So let's say A has utilized this space, all this space in the undo table space, and it got committed. The transaction got committed. So now if the transaction got committed, Do we require to have old values, for this undo table space? Not anymore. Why? Because if already the transaction is committed means we don't need the old values. So that is the reason somebody should be there to clear off this old data, like whatever the data which is corresponding to A, that need to be cleared by someone, and that will be taken care by your SMON process. So SMON will clear off the old values whatever you have in the undo table space. Again, it will make the undo table space as empty, so that next further users like another user B or C or D can make use of that particular undo table space. So because this management is being done automatically by Oracle, we should mention this undo management parameter in our SP file as auto. By default it is auto from 9A onwards, so we don't really need to worry about that. So what is the meaning of this undo management set to auto? As I said, SMON will be clearing of the unnecessary data, whatever is there in the undo table space. So the next parameter is undo underscore table space. So this is going to tell you which undo table space is in use right now, which means even though we can have many undo table spaces created, but only one undo table space will be in use at a time. That means if I have one undo table space created, all the users in my database will be using only that particular undo table space. For example, if you have a look here, we have something called undo table space, and there is a name of the table space given there. So every user in the database will be using the same undo table space to store the data. But Oracle provides you an option to create multiple undo table spaces, but you can use only one. Now you may get a doubt, like if I can use only one undo table space at a time, then what is the purpose of creating multiple undo table spaces? So this is, at a times the purpose would be like this. Suppose I have two undo table spaces, assuming I have one undo table space with the size of, let's say, 5 GB, and I have another undo table space which is having with the size of something like 60 GB. So assuming I am you know just take an example of a mobile service provider like Airtel. So what Airtel will do, Airtel will be doing monthly postpaid bill processing. So every month on a particular date, they will generate the bills for all the postpaid customers. So when they are doing that, obviously it involves a lot of transactions, updating some tables, inserting some records or whatever. So during that time, it might use a huge undo table space, a bigger undo table space. And let's say this stands for 2 days. Let's say for 2 days every month, Airtel is going to uh, generate the postpaid bills for which we require a big undo table space. So during those 2 days, what we can do is we can simply switch our undo table space from undo TBS1 to undo TBS2. So those 2 days, 60 GB of undo table space 2 will be used, and again once the billing cycle is completed, all the bills are generated, then again you can switch back your undo table space to the regular one. So because if you know that all the time 60 GB is not necessary, in a month you require only for 2 days you require 60 GB, the rest of the 28 days you require only 5 GB, then why unnecessary to give 60 GB to the undo table space. So even though you allocate 60 GB, if Oracle is using only 5 GB, it means that the rest of the 55 GB is waste. You are not utilizing it. So instead of that, we can have a option like this, that we can have two undo table spaces, and whenever required, we'll be switching between them. And switching these undo table spaces is online. So you don't require to shut down in a database. On the fly, you can change from one undo table space to another undo table space. So that is the main purpose of it. So last and final,
One question, Pawan.
yeah, please.
Yeah, one question is, so suppose if, okay, I understood why we require to undo table space. My question is, suppose 5 GB is there, right? Okay, we can add additional files also, right, to the undo table space.
Obviously, obviously we
Okay,
can add it, but the thing is,
okay.
once you add it, you cannot roll back. I mean, you cannot reduce the size.
Oh, you can, that is okay. So once you add it, you cannot reduce, you
Yeah.
cannot drop the files for that.
Exactly. So that's the reason, we are going for the concept of switching.
Okay, so that is the case only with the undo table space, right? But other data file, other table space, I can do that, right?
No, for other data files also, if the data is occupied already, you cannot reduce the size. So let me give you an example.
Why? Because today I dropped one. Okay, I was trying, right. So today I created, but yeah, it was empty. It was not filled. So I was reading your document and doing that, right.
Mhm.
So I was able to drop that file. So I attached like 1 GB file, and then I was able to drop that because anyways it was not used.
No,
I just
dropping.
created.
No, dropping you can do anyway. Like even for undo also, you can do the drop. But the thing is about resizing. I like reducing the file size. Dropping is different. Dropping is something like you totally don't want that file, so always
Correct.
you can able to remove that. But how
Yeah.
you
So I
would,
was.
the point here is one thing you need to understand, how you would know whether the data is already occupied in the data file or not, or in the undo file or not. So if you recollect, in table space management, I told you one point. So suppose assuming that I have one table space. Initially, I created with first data file with something like, let's say, 5 GB size. So to this, let's say out of this 5 GB, let's say 2 GB was utilized. So 3 GB is free. Now I have added one more data file to the same table space with again the same size of 5 GB. Then I started, there is one table which is residing in this particular table space. So I started inserting the data. If you remember, there is a point in the hands-on document which says if you have multiple data files, the space will be utilized from all the data files in a round robin fashion. Which means, for example, you are inserting 100 MB now. So how the space will be allocated? First 5 MB will be allocated from first data file. Next 5 MB will be allocated from second data file. Again third 5 MB will be allocated from first data file. Fourth 5 MB will be allocated from second data file. Which means the moment you add the data file, immediately Oracle will start using it. It doesn't, it is not like that. Only when the first file is full, then it will start writing into second file. No. The moment you add the file, Oracle will start using it. Now the point what I am saying is, suppose if that is the case and all of a sudden you drop this data file, Oracle always allow you, then are you not losing this data? That is the point what I am saying. So even though you add it and maybe within 5 minutes you drop it, you don't know whether in that 5 minutes Oracle is using it or not. If it is really using it, then you are going to lose that data.
So, is there a way to find out, okay, whether that data file has been used or not?
Obviously, like we can able to get to know. Have a script. I think I showed you. There is a script to reduce
Yeah,
the data file.
sorry, I couldn't attend the last. Yeah, I did not attend. So yeah, that's fine. I can go through that.
Okay, so there is a script. So if you execute the script, which is there in my blog, it will tell you what is the data file total size, and it will also tell you what is the data file's minimum possible size, like to what size you can reduce that particular data file. So it will give you, I know, that information. So with that you can able to reduce your size.
Okay.
So I mean, to take again an example, so let's say you have this second data file added with 5 GB, but out of 5 GB, let's say you have utilized only something like, let's say, 1 GB. Now there are many things which we need to know. Suppose, let's say it is like this: 1 GB is utilized like this, and rest of the 4 GB is like this. Then obviously Oracle will allow you to reduce your data file size by 4 GB. Now taking another situation, so in this situation Oracle will not allow you to reduce the file size. Now what is the difference that you need to observe? Here all your data is in one side, and the rest of the free space is in another side. So obviously there is a possibility that Oracle can reduce the data file size. But here the data is scattered. So the data is not in a sequential order. So in this situation, if it wants to reduce, maximum it can reduce only this much. It cannot reduce beyond that, because your data is present till this point. Even though this is a free space, Oracle will not consider that, and it will assume that this is the final point, and it will tell you that it can reduce only this much free space. So I mean, this is what different scenarios I am trying to tell you. So if your data is placed sequentially, then you have more chance of reducing the data file. But if your data is scattered, there is a less chance of reducing the data file. But I mean, most of the times we may not come across this situation, at least in today's generation. Why? Because hard disk costs are becoming cheaper. So uh, we'll be having more than what we require. We'll be having the space more than what we require. So these kind of situations are very rare now.
Okay.
Okay. Coming back to undo retention, we have another parameter. So I will talk about this a little bit later once we understand the things. Now, coming back to undo table space. So when you have undo table space will be having some status, or especially when I say undo blocks. So let's say all these are undo blocks. So let's say a user started utilizing this undo table space by performing some DML transaction. Then let's say A has utilized all entire undo table space. It is doing some big transaction. Let's say all the blocks inside the undo table space are utilized. So when A is using, then the status of this block will be in active state. So when you see some undo block in active state, you need to understand that somebody is utilizing that particular undo block. Suppose A has completed the transaction, means let's say A has issued a statement, update statement, and A got some acknowledgement like 130 rows are updated. but A has not given any commit. So just he got an acknowledgement that 130 rows got updated. Now, after this update statement got completed, the status of this undo block will be changed from active to unexpired. So once A has issued commit, let's say after 5 minutes A has issued commit, then after issuing commit, the status of this undo block will be changed from unexpired to expired. Now, after this, as I said, the data need to be cleaned up, and again, B user will start using it. So the moment B user start using it, again the status of the undo block will become expired to active. So it is similar to your, the status what we have for the redo log group. So if you recollect, for the redo log group, I mentioned three status. One is current, then active, then inactive, and again once a log switch happens, inactive becomes current. So similar to that, here also for undo we have these three status. So as I said, active means somebody is using it. Unexpired means somebody used it, but the data is not yet cleared. Expired means that block is ready for reuse. So expired means the data is cleared inside that particular block and that block is ready for reuse. So some other user might go ahead and utilize that one. So is this status clear for everyone?
When multiple users use the same update statement to the same table,
Sorry, coming in.
multiple users
Mm-hmm.
use this update statement at the time for the same table space, then how it works here?
Okay. In that case, obviously, the things will be divided. For example, as I am saying, A has utilized this entire undo table space. Then obviously, let's say during the same time, B is also using some DML statement. Then because there is no free space in undo table space and already A is utilizing it, B need to wait till A completes its transaction. So, or at the times most of the times B will get an error stating that undo table space is, I mean the space inside the undo table space is exhausted. So you will understand. Now we are going to see a typical error which we will be facing. So that time you will understand this.
Okay, fine.
Now to give you one more example here. So let's say I have undo table space which is of 5 GB, and there is a user A which performs some DML transaction, and A has utilized some 2 GB of space, and it got committed also. A has issued commit. Now can you tell me what will be the status of this 2 GB? Whether it will be active, unexpired or expired?
Expired.
Obviously, because we have given commit, so the status of this will be 2 GB will be expired. Now let's say then B came into picture and B has also issued some DML statement. So now logically if you see, B can utilize any space in entire 5 GB, because this is expired means, as I said, expired means we can reuse. So B can go ahead and reuse this 2 GB. But B will not, I mean, B will not go ahead and reuse this 2 GB. Instead, B will go ahead and utilize, let's say B also wants 2 GB. So B will go and utilize the free space what is there in the undo table space, the next 2 GB. So it won't use the already expired undo blocks. Rather, if new undo blocks or free undo blocks are there, so B will go and utilize that particular space here. So that is how it will behave. So it is just mentioned as a note here. Any transaction will first prefer to use the free undo blocks, means whatever the free space you have in the undo table space. If that free space is not available, then it is going to utilize your expired undo blocks. So take a situation like this. So there are three transactions issued, A, B and C. Now let's say A has utilized 2 GB and B has utilized 2 GB and C has utilized 1 GB. So all three are expired now. Like the first 2 GB is expired, the second 2 GB is expired, and the last 1 GB is also expired. Now D issued one DML transaction. So for D, there is no option of using free space, because there is no free space, no more free space available in the undo table space. So D compulsory need to use these expired undo blocks only. So that is the situation which that note is saying. So one more thing, this is pretty thing that Suppose one of your friend is depositing some amount in your bank account, and let's say already in your bank account you have a balance of some 50,000. So your friend has not yet completed his transaction, but at the same time you are checking your balance in your mobile. So what will be the, like, let's say he is depositing another 50,000. So already in your account you have 50,000. He is depositing another 50,000 in your account. So when when he still doesn't complete its transaction, still 50,000 is not deposited into your account, and you are at the same time you are checking the balance in your account. So what will be the value that you will see? Obviously, because your friend has not completed the transaction, you will see old balance, that is 50,000. But if your friend has deposited the money and after that if you are checking the balance, it will show you 1 lakh. So this is pretty well everybody knows it. So that is also one point that we need to remember. Oracle will show old value to a select statement on the same table when DML is processed but not committed. So is that point clear? Okay, so now let's move to a famous error. So Oracle, whenever there is some issue, Oracle is going to raise so many errors, and there are thousands of errors like that. And as a DBA, we cannot remember each and every error and what is the cause for that error and all. But with respect to interviews, there are some errors which we need to remember. So one such error is ORA 1555. So here 1555 is the number of error. So for every error, Oracle has given some unique number. So for this particular error, the number that was given is 1555, and the error message is snapshot 2 volt. So you would be finding this in your alert log file whenever you face this error. Now we are going to see what is this error, why it will occur, and what are the solutions to avoid this. And it is a definite interview question uh, in 90% of the interviews. So let me take an example here. So here I'm taking some examples like transaction 1. It is done by, so transaction 1 has been performed by some user, and it has updated. It is, an update statement was given on a particular table EA. Sorry. And so when this transaction is being performed, you know that this is the undo table space. So assuming that this transaction has utilized all the blocks in the undo table space, and we know that 30 blocks will be generated, and assume that the dirty blocks, whatever you have in the right list, so those dirty blocks are not yet written to the data files. So this is the data file, and this is your undo table space. So assume that these dirty blocks are not yet written. So Oracle is waiting for the checkpoint event. You know that DB will write at the time of checkpoint event. So assuming that DB is waiting for the checkpoint event, and then this particular transaction is committed. So because this transaction is committed, the status of these undo blocks in the undo table space for all the undo blocks will become expired. So at the same, and then after that, or at the same time close to that, there is another transaction issued by another user, and it is updating table B. Now this transaction obviously will use undo table space, and when it comes to undo table space, as you can see, all the blocks are already expired and I don't have free space. So this transaction 2 will reutilize these expired blocks. Means whatever the data of A is there, it will be overridden or it will be cleared, and the data of B will be inserted to the undo table space. Now at the same time, transaction 3 hit the database, and it is doing a select on table A. Now you tell me transaction 3 should see old data of A or new data of A.
Pull the data of E.
Obviously. So transaction 3 should see new data of A. Why? Because here the data has been updated and committed. So just a while ago I told you a point. If your friend has completed depositing the money, you should see new balance. So here also the same thing happened. The transaction has been committed. So transaction 3 should see new data from the data file. So what transaction 3 will do, just like our regular select statement processing, it will go to data file to check or to extract the new data of transaction or table A. But as I said, the new values, the transaction has been completed, but the new data or the new dirty blocks were not yet written to the data file. So which means in this select statement by transaction 3, when it tries to check for the data in data file, it will not get any value with respect to table A. Why? Because that values were already modified and Oracle DB is just waiting for the checkpoint event to write the new values. Suppose take the thing, your friend deposited you the amount. You should suppose to see 1 lakh in your account, but let's say due to some reason, even though your friend deposited the amount, still that balance is not being reflected in your account. So in such case, what should be the balance that you need to see? I mean to say your friend deposited 50,000, but that balance, that amount was not appearing, that new value is not appearing in your bank account. So in that case, what should you see? Like what value it will show? So anybody can tell me?
It will show the old value only.
Exactly. So because the new value is not reflected, at least you should get old value. So because it let's say 1 lakh is not being shown to you, at least it should show you 50,000. So here also the same case. So select statement will come to data file, but new values are not there. New data is not available because still DB writer has not written that. Now what Oracle will say, okay, because I couldn't get new values from data file, at least let me get old values from the undo table space, because old values will reside there. But when it comes to undo table space, already all the undo values or undo blocks are being overwritten by table B. Means whatever the old data of A is there, the data is expired now and the data is being reutilized by B. That means either the select statement couldn't able to get new value, also it couldn't able to get old value. So which means when you are trying to check your bank balance, neither it is showing 1 lakh or it is showing 50,000. So in that case, Oracle is going to throw, or this select statement is going to throw the error for a 1555, and the error message is snapshot to old error, which means the value what you are asking for, I couldn't able to get that value from the database. So this is what is called as aura 155 error, and this is the scenario when it will occur. So one thing that you need to understand is aura 155 will occur only if all these transactions hit the database in just fraction of milliseconds difference. Suppose this has occurred at 10:35 and transaction 2 occurred at 10:35:05 seconds, means after 5 seconds. Then transaction 3 happened after 10 seconds. Then you will not see this aura 155 error. Why? Because there is a time gap. 5 seconds or 10 seconds time gap is there. Maybe in that 5 or 10 seconds, checkpoint event will occur and DB writer may write your dirty blocks to the data file. But let's say if you got the, these three transactions in very minute difference, like in milliseconds, there is a difference and all the three transactions hit the database, then yes, there is a chance that you will be landing up with this aura 155 error. So is that clear for everyone?
Pawan, there is a small confusion here. When
Yeah,
I come to transaction 2, there is an update statement P, and it is not been committed here.
exactly.
So then how it shows the value for the latest new value that it has B in the undo table space?
No, I mean undo will be used before commit only, right?
Hmm.
So I mean to say, like let's say you are updating, first you have updated table A. So let's say during that time it has used entire undo table space and it is committed. So the moment you commit it, the status of these undo blocks became expired. Now transaction 2 issued update statement on another table. So in that case what happens? To run that update, you know how the update statement will process. To run this update, against B, table B, it should store that old values in the undo table space. So that is what here transaction 2 is doing. Whatever the old values in B, in table B are there, it is going to store those old values in this undo table space. So to store old values, you don't require commit or rollback. Got the point?
Yes, yes, I got it.
So that is how we'll be landing up with aura 155 error. Now, what are the solutions that we have for this aura 155 to avoid the aura 155? So, if you are getting this error rarely, like once in a month or something like that, and obviously what happens here is because this select user, whoever is using this select statement, they will be getting this aura 155 error. So that particular user will write an email to DBA team stating that they have issued, I mean, they have uh, received this aura 155 error. So if this is a very rare situation that you are receiving this error, then you need to ask that user to issue the same select statement after some time. Like, you can ask that user to take a break of 5 minutes and after that ask that particular user to execute the select statement, then it will work. Because in these 5 minutes we might expect DB writer checkpoint event will occur and DB writer will write the new data to the data files so that the data will be available. This is only when the situation is very rare. But if the situation is very frequent, like every week you are receiving this error, or every once in 2 days you are receiving this error or so, then as the first solution, you need to increase the undo table space size. So what happens if you increase the undo table space size? Suppose taking the same scenario, I have increased my undo table space size. So these are the blocks that were utilized by A, and they are expired. Now when transaction 2 issues B, update on B, then as I just said a while ago, B will use this space instead of expired blocks. So when B uses this space, then when transaction 3, that is the select statement, hit the database, select statement can pick up the old values from the undo table space because the data is still available. The data with respect to A is still available and B has not reused those blocks. So that is the reason if you increase the undo table space, there is a chance that you will avoid this error. How much to increase and all, there is no specific formula. So let's say your undo table space already is of size 25 GB and you received this error frequently. Make it like something like 35 GB. So add 10 GB more. Now after some time, like or let's say you first increase it 10 GB, still you received the error, you added one more 10 GB, still you received the error. So you cannot keep on increasing the size of undo table space. So at certain point you need to stop it. Let's say from 25 GB you increase it till 50 GB. But beyond 50 GB you cannot go for it because we cannot keep on adding the space. So what we can do in such cases is, if we cannot increase the undo table space further, we need to increase the undo retention value. Now what is this undo retention means? Retention means to keep it for some time. So if somebody says retain this, it means they want to, they don't want to throw it out, but they want to store this for some time. So as I said earlier, we have a parameter called undo underscore retention. So what this parameter says, it specifies how many seconds the expired data can be stored in the undo table space. And the default value is 900 seconds, which means 15 minutes. 15. So what happens here is, suppose I have issued transaction 1, which is an update statement on table A. Normally what is happening, and it is committing. So I'm just taking scenarios. So this is your undo table space. So let's say A has utilized undo table space. Then when transaction 2, which is updating another table B, hit the database, this data is getting overridden and B is now utilizing it. This is normally what happens. Now if transaction 1 issues the statement, update statement with something called retention guarantee clause. So what you need to do is you need to write your complete update statement, and at the last you need to say retention guarantee. So when you say retention guarantee, what happens is, and then you issue a commit. So when when the update statement is processed, let's say entire undo table space is used, and you issued commit, so the status will be marked as expired also. But for 900 seconds, Oracle will not allow any other user to reuse the undo table space. So suppose after this, within some 1 minute of time, transaction 2 hit the database, and it is executing update statement on table B. So B will come to this undo table space, but Oracle will not allow B to reutilize the data or to reutilize the expired blocks of undo till the next 900 seconds, that is for 15 minutes. So why? Because you are saying in the update statement, you are saying retention guarantee. Means you want the data to be there in the undo table space for 900 seconds. So what you can do if you are facing this, Aura 1555 error, as I said, if you cannot increase your undo table space size anymore, then you can go ahead and change the value of this parameter from 900 to something else like 1800. So make it 30 minutes. So which means till the next 30 minutes, nobody can utilize the expired undo blocks. But that will become a problem in the terms of space utilization. So when you say for 900 seconds, nobody can use this undo table space, what happens to this update statement of B? Will it wait? Obviously, it will not wait. Like let's say for 15 minutes, if this update statement want to wait means, obviously that is not the reasonable solution. So what this update statement will do? It will simply say that the space is not available in the undo table space, and this transaction will fail. And if the transaction fails, you can understand like there will be sometimes a problem for the business. So that is the reason most of the times in real time you will not see people using this retention guarantee. And even changing the undo retention value is also uh, most of the times not recommended. So the main solution, we need to get it from the increasing undo table space size itself, because for as I said, hard disks are nowadays cheaper, and you can go ahead and utilize you can go and add the space more and more to that. But in case, as I said, if undo table space size is crossing 100 GB and all, so you cannot keep on adding the space. So in such cases, you need to concentrate on using this undo retention value. And the other best way is you need to ask your application team to avoid frequent commits. So because if commit is not issued, then the status of undo block will not become expired. And if the status is not become expired, then some other transaction will not reutilize that particular block. So the things will be as it is. So taking same scenario, suppose here if this transaction 1 has not issued commit, then B cannot reutilize this data, or B cannot reuse those undo blocks. So when B cannot reutilize or reuse those blocks, then everything will be smoother. So that's the reason we need to ask the application team to avoid any frequent commits if they have in their code, application code. So these are the different solutions what we have for this Vara 1555. So anyone having questions?
I faced the same similar issue recently in my production while doing the importing to the UAT environment.
Okay.
Okay, and I tried to replace it actually using, first I was using a truncate and tried to replace it, and later it started working for that. So how it exactly works there, I did not understand exactly there. But here I understood how it works. But while doing importing to the UAT, it did not work. Actually, I did not understand there exactly how it works. Do you have any idea on that actually?
Import, I mean, are you using data pump or the regular import?
IMPDP.
Okay, so either it is whatever be the case, IMPDP actually works in the same flow as loading the data. So it will internally, issue say insert commands only, DML commands only. So obviously, when you are doing that, there is a chance that this the data will be, I mean, the undo table space might get full, and during such situations when somebody is trying to select, or the same import statement itself wants to do some select of the data because it want to create some index on top of that, or it want to create some constraint on top of the table, then it might land up in that situation that it will throw you this Varavan triple error, because there also import is also nothing but DML statements only.
Yes, yes.
So that might be the reason you faced that error.
Mhm. But when I used replace, but it worked for that. I did not face this issue that time, but it worked and it replaced the old DML statement to the new DML statement and updated it. That's the way it worked there.
Replace will exactly work like dropping and recreating the table. So
Exactly.
what it will do, it will drop the table, then it will recreate, then it will start inserting the data. So as I said, might be during that time, there could be a time difference. So as I said, this Vara 1555 will occur only when in fraction of seconds, there is a difference in hitting the transactions. So maybe, when you are using that replace instead of truncate, so there might be a delay because Oracle need to drop the table, then it need to recreate the table, then insert the data. Because of the time difference might be, that is passing through without any errors.
Okay. Fine.
No problem. So that is about it. And next we have commands on how to create the undo table space. So it is the same command as creating a regular table space. Only difference is you will be just appending this keyword undo, create undo table space. Sorry. So now I have created another undo table space with the name undo TBS2. So as I said, suppose if I want to switch from one undo table space to another undo table space, so simply I'll do like this. So now my database, all the users will start using undo TBS2. So similarly, if we want to create a temporary table space, we need to go ahead with this. So when comes to temporary table space, unlike undo table space, if you have 10 temporary table spaces, you can utilize all the 10 temporary table spaces at the same time. So it is not like that only one temp will be in use and other temps will be will not be in use. It is not like that here. I'm just changing back. So here also the syntax will be similar, only thing that you will be adding this particular keyword, and instead of data file, here you will be saying temp file. Okay, it is saying it is already part. Okay. So then you have commands on how to add a new temp file to the existing temporary table space, or if you want to resize the existing temp file, how you can do that. So there are commands here. Now from Oracle 10G onwards, we have an option called temporary table space group. Suppose you have 3 or 4 temporary table spaces. Instead of using them individually, you can combine those 3 or 4 temporary table spaces together into a group, and you can utilize that group. You can utilize all the temporary table spaces by logically creating a group. So if you want to see whether already groups are there or not, you can use this query, select star from DBA table space groups. And there are no groups as of now, you can see. Now we need to create a group. So we don't have any separate command to create a temporary table space group. While creating one temporary table space itself, you need to mention the group also. So just like here, let me create one temporary table space by the name temp02. So here itself I need to say table space group temporary group TMPGRP. That is the name of the group I want to give. You can give any name. So now that group will be created, and inside this group already this temp table space will be part of it. So now you can see we have a group, and in that group temp02 is already a member. Now I want to add temp01 also to this group. Then simply I need to run this command, alter table space. Let me have a look. Alter table space name, table space group, group name. Then automatically now temp01 will be also part of TMP GRP group. So like this we can add n number of table spaces. So now what happens, instead of individually using temp01 separately and temp02 separately, if you utilize temp GRP, TMP GRP, automatically it means that you are using both temp01 and temp02. And also if you have multiple groups, multiple temporary table space groups, you can move one table space from one group to another group with the help of this command. And also there will be there is one important note here that you need to follow in real time. So for both temporary and undo table spaces, never and ever turn auto extend on. So we know what auto extension on means. It will increase the size by its own automatically. But for undo and temp, we should not enable this. The reason is this undo or temp doesn't store any permanent data. They will be storing the data for temporary time, and after some time the data will be cleared anyway. So that is the reason we should not use auto extension on for these two table spaces. So that is about this one. Then Oracle 12c has introduced it with something called temporary undo. So before going for temporary undo, we need to know something about temporary tables. So we have regular tables that you know already. So just like that, we will be having temporary tables. So generally application team will create these temporary tables in order to store the data for temporary time. Might be when they are doing some huge transactions, let's say they have written some PLSQL code and it is performing some transactions step by step, and at some step they want to store some data in a temporary space, then they will be using this temporary tables. So if you are using this temporary tables, so usually earlier, this temporary table space used to consume your system table space. So, but right now, there is a separate, space that was created for this, and which we call it as temporary undo. So you can see the point here. So undo records, by default, undo records for the temporary tables are stored in the undo table space and are logged into the redo, which is the same way as for other tables. So on these temporary on these temporary tables, if you perform some DML transactions, it used to follow the same way. But now we are going to create a separate undo for it by enabling this parameter temp underscore undo underscore enable. So now what happens is, because you are not using the regular you know undo table space, but rather you are using some temporary undo table space, so redo entries will not be generated, and so that the load on the database will be reduced. So that is the purpose of it. But I mean, at least I have not seen till now, anyone using this, because as I said, temp tables utilization is for a time being. So if you want to enable this, then you can issue this command. So by default here you can see temporary undo is disabled. So if you want to enable it, then you need to execute this particular command. So that is the purpose of that. So anyone having questions? Okay, so that is all we have for today, and tomorrow we'll continue with the next topics. So before we close, anyone having any questions?
Pawan, I had requested for the last class video.
Okay, I'll just share it. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, no problem.
Pawan, yesterday I was practicing some data files, just queuing and undo, giving the auto extension on. Just I did not given the size. Then it takes a default size as 32 GB only, max size.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's meet tomorrow at the same time. Have a nice day.